specifically training on online tool for data collection. And this tool has been designed with collaboration of C-Sport Technology, this Bangalore-based technology company. And I have with me Mr. Sami Kosi, my colleagues, and the C-Sport team, entire team is there, almost 5-6% is there. And of course, Mr. G. Mevan, our ED and CEO. And we are going to start with the opening remarks from Mr. G. Mevan. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Sunny. Thank you, Nandi. First of all, excuse me for my bad throat. I'm having a slight problem with the throat. Okay, so good afternoon to all of you, and welcome each one of you for today's this workshop on data management data management by Sa-Dhan. As you all know, that data is an important thing as far as how functioning is concerned, because many a times people, when they wants to know about microfinance, they often refer to the data, and the most of the data they refer to is the data which is collected by Sa-Dhan. And you know that we bring out the annual report like Bharat Microfinance Report, which is generally referred to by most of the stakeholders, including government, RBI, for any data needs. Apart from this, as an SRO, our mandate is there that we should collect the data from the members and it should be given to the RBI on a regular basis. That's a mandate given to Sa-Dhan as an SRO. So data capturing, data collection is an important role of Sa-Dhan. So that's why we have been getting data from you on a regular basis, on a quarterly basis, on an annual basis, and also in between then whenever there is a need for the data to be supplied to RBI. So this data becomes very important. As I said, it becomes a data for the RBI, because RBI depends on Sa-Dhan as an SRO for the data of its members. So we need to supply the data on a regular basis as a mandate of RBI being a self-regulatory organization. Plus, as I said, it also is it's also used for developing reports, reports like Bharat Microfinance Report or a quarterly microfinance report, which is an important document as far as the stakeholders are concerned. Many times you have seen the RBI or even Government of India refers to Bharat Microfinance Report data for the purpose of quoting it in their reports. If you see the previous economic survey report, Bharat Microfinance Report was quoted quite exhaustively. So what I'm trying to say is that it becomes an important thing for the microfinance institutions to provide the right kind of data. We have been so far collecting the data using the Excel sheet, which is more of a physical form. Now the time has changed. We also, things have become more digital. So we also need to be more digitized in the data collection and data reporting. But unfortunately, since our member institutions are at different levels of data technology capabilities, we have institutions which are having excellent, the best or the state-of-art technology, but then there are also smaller institutions who may not have the right kind of the technology. So what we have done is that we are trying to digitize the data collection with the help of one product from Microsoft called Microsoft Power BI, with the help of a technology company from Bangalore called Sys4. And this, based on the Microsoft Power BI solution, we have developed a data capture product, which will be now discussed here. I would request each one of you to please pay attention to that, because we would like you to understand it properly, so that because from the next quarter onwards, we are going to collect this data through this digitized form. So please take keen interest and understand. And if there are any doubts, if there are any apprehensions, please raise your points so that we can take corrective actions, or we can also clarify your apprehensions if there are any. So with this, I stop here because, as I said, I'm also not keeping well. So I just leave it here, and I request SIS4 team to please take it forward. Thank you.
So yeah, so we have with us Cisco team. So they also have developed this tool, and they will be first briefly presenting the process of like onboarding of MFIs, the registration process. So Ayush sir, you can take over.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gigi sir. Thank you so much, Sunny sir and Nandi sir, for handing over the session. First of all, I'd like to welcome you all for this training session, and good afternoon to each one of you present here. Uh, Thank you so much, also Sa-Dhan team, for giving us the opportunity to be part of this process where you are digitizing the entire data collection management sheet system. Now, from our team, I'd like to just introduce, we have Sneha from my team, and we have Ranjit from my team. So before we start, we'll just like to show you a small presentation we have created to give a small introduction on what we are going to be presenting today and what training is going to happen today. Uh, so we won't take much of your time. The presentation will be quick, and then we will move on to the demonstration of the application to you, which you will be using as in the coming quarters. So I hope you can see the screen being shared, and I'd like Sneha to take over the session and just give a brief introduction of what we are going to showcase today.
Yeah, thank you, Ayush. Hi team, good afternoon. Today I will walk you through the Sa-Dhan DCMS application, and I will be presenting the following agenda. So it is the registration process, MFI login, QDCS process, that is quarterly data collection sheet, ADCS process, that is annual data collection process. So before we start with the process, I would like to request you all to please feel free to stop and ask if any questions or clarifications if you have. So now beginning with the first process, that is the registration process here. So here we have the Sa-Dhan team who initiates the MFI onboarding process. So once the Sa-Dhan team initiates onboarding process, MFI maker will receive an email notification with the portal URL. So once the portal URL is received, on click of the portal URL, MFI will be navigated to the registration form. So post this, the MFI will have to then fill in all the required details for the registration process and submit it to the checker. And now that the checker shall review all the data submitted by maker and then submits it to the Sa-Dhan team. So post the submission, post the submission of like the registration form, Sa-Dhan shall approve the registration process. So following the approval process, MFI will receive an email containing the login credentials and the portal to URL and the portal to access the application. So once upon click of the portal URL link, the MFI will be able to they will be directed to the application login screen where they can enter their credentials to access the application. So this is about the overview of the process.
Okay,
And
I'd like to add here, Sneha. So basically, this process is a new process which you will be following. It's a one-time process. So basically, as we are digitizing the system, the MLIs or the MFIs will be requested to register into the portal for a one-time process. So basically, this is nothing but to feed your information into a system. So you're registered into that system. So when you fill in your quarterly data collection sheet or your annual data collection sheet, you will have these credentials that will be sent to your email along with a link, which you click and you will be able to access this application. So the Sa-Dhan team will first initiate it, and then you will get the registration link. The maker from the MLI institution will be filling in the details. The checker from the MLI institution will be checking in all of the details and submitting it for Sa-Dhan for approval. Once it is approved, you will be receiving the maker will be receiving an email with their credentials, username and password along with the link, and the checker will also receive a separate email with the user ID, password, and the link. Once this is done, we will show you the process, the entire demo, and you will be able to understand it better and clear. You can continue, Sneha.
Yeah, if no doubts, we can move on to the next slide.
If you have any doubts, you could please ask.
Sir, just I would like to add, like Ayush was referring to MLI. So MLI is micro lending institution. So it's like for all entities who are involved in microfinance, we refer to them as MLIs, micro lending institution. Sneha, you can continue, please.
Yeah. So before we proceed with the actual demo of the application, I will just show you the few screenshots that you would encounter while using the application. So in this slide, the first screenshot that you can see here is post the approval process from the Sa-Dhan team. MFIs will receive an email. So in that email, you can see the link portal. So once you click on that, you will be navigated to the registration form. So that you can see it in the second screenshot. So the second screenshot represents the registration form where you can fill in the details. And moving on to the next slide, here you have the screenshot. So once the registration form is submitted and the checker reviews all the details, and when it is submitted to the Sa-Dhan, so once post the approval of Sa-Dhan team, the MFIs will receive an email notification where they will have the credential details and also the link to access the portal. So on click of that portal link, which you can see in this email, the example of an email, the sample of an email, so they will be navigated to the login page of the Sa-Dhan application. So in this login screen, you can enter your user ID and password. So upon successfully login into the page, you will be navigated to the home screen. That is the DCMS home page, where you can see towards your left hand side, you have menus such as home, guidance note, and QDCS form, ADCS form, and logout option. So upon click of either of the options that you would like to, you will be navigated to that particular section and you can proceed by filling in your data. And now my colleague Ranjit will take over for the demonstration. So if you have any doubts, you can just ask us.
Yeah, so now we will be moving on to the demonstration of the application of the entire onboarding / registration process. Now I'd like my colleague Ranjit to take over the session. Sneha, if you could stop sharing your screen, Ranjit will. Yeah.
Is there any multiple login option is there or any only one option?
Yeah, I hope the screen is visible. Now, Ranjit, please go ahead. You can start.
Hello everyone. As mentioned in the slide before, so this is the first mail that you will be receiving once you submit your email to the Sa-Dhan team. So the email says like the registration link has been shared by the Sa-Dhan team to register the portal.
Can you speak a little more loudly? Your voice is like barely audible. Can you speak just a little more louder? Like if I don't
hear me now, sir?
Yeah, it's much more audible now.
Okay.
You can please continue.
Yeah, so this is the email that you will be receiving once you submit your once you give an email to the Sa-Dhan team. So once after they entering that, and you will be receiving this particular thing, and there will be an option here says click here, and this is the link that will navigate you to the portal where you just have to fill the data. So this is the registration page that will be visible once you click on that particular link what you receive in your email. And so let me enter some data over here. And this is a legal form where drop down will be displayed. So you can select which particular legal form that you follow and headquarters.
So just to highlight this point, this is a one-time process as the MFIs have to be registered onto the system. This is a one-time process. After this registration and onboarding process, the MFIs will get credentials. In case there is any updation of the data that is provided here during the onboarding process, let's say contact number changes or an email ID changes, or anything else that changes in this registration form, you will have to contact the Sa-Dhan team, which will be able to help you and guide you through that process.
So Ayush sir, Mr. Sasi Kumar has one doubt. He was asking, is it a one login per MFI? I think he's having confusion, like only one person can access.
Okay. So the answer to this question is, now per MFI there will be a maker and a checker. Now that maker and checker will have user ID password for the maker, user ID password for the checker. That same user ID password can be used by different parties in that particular MFI organization. The same link will be used and the same credentials will be used.
So
Hope
Ayush
that
sir was
was- yeah.
you're saying like multiple persons from the same organization can access that portal once they receive that user ID and password from Sa-Dhan. So there can be like multiple persons accessing the same portal to submit the data, operation, finance, GRM, etc.
Now, one clarification to that is that this common this credentials can be used only by multiple people only for the maker purpose. The checker has to be a single person. So whoever is designated as a checker, he should be the one who should be checking for all the data collected by from different departments. So for maybe from collecting from different departments, you can have different makers, but then checker has to be one person.
I hope that answers your question, Shashi Kumar sir. Yeah, I think,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, we can move ahead.
Yeah, so at the last you can see a section where it has checker details. This is the place where you will enter your organization's checker details. For now, let me enter my same email ID what have given Southern team as a maker email ID.
So in some cases here, the MFIs can have the same person as the maker and the checker. So in that case, the same email can be provided. Or in other cases, there would be one checker per MFI and makers can be multiple, as Gigi sir had mentioned.
And after entering all these details, when you click on submit to a checker, so there will be a message displays that the data has been submitted to the checker's approval. So now you will be receiving an email saying that maker has submitted a yes. So this is the email that you will that the checker will be receiving in order to review the details whatever it is typed according to the maker. So when you click on this particular link, so as a checker screen, it asks you for a validation where you have to enter the checker's email what you have given previously. So once on clicking on the submit, there is a pop-up message displayed saying that email is accepted. Checker email ID has been validated successfully. Once you click on it, all the details that the maker has entered will be displayed over here, and checker has a provision to edit it and then even try to submit it if any correction is required. So once after the submission, there is this message displayed saying that data has been submitted for the Sa-Dhan's team's approval. So once after Sa-Dhan team approves all these details what you have given, you will be receiving an email for both for the checker and for the maker with the username and password. So this is how the registration process works, and below that you will be receiving an email where you have to log in with these particular credentials, and so that you can access the QDCS and ADCS, which is quarterly data sheet that you're going to be filling, and annual data sheet. I hope registration process is clear.
Any questions so far in the registration process?
Hello. Sir, Ganesh Shankar from Hindustan Microfinance.
Yes.
My voice is audible, sir? Acha, I just one question I ask you. The first time I filled all the detail regarding the company names and the CFO, CEO, and the shareholding pattern. The next time is automatically fill the data or entirely fresh data you put it out.
So this is a one-time process where you'll be filling it one time, and this data will be stored in the system for as a registered data. Now,
Correct.
when you're filling in the quarterly data collection sheet or the annual data collection sheet, all of these data that you have entered while the registration process is completed will get auto-populated. You don't have to fill it once again.
Okay, fine. Very good.
Does that answer your question?
But if there are any change in the
Correct. I understand.
persons,
Understand.
then
Understand, sir.
that has
Yeah.
to be.
If there is any change, you will have to just
Yeah, I
contact the
understand.
Southern team and then
Just like the RBI returns, they asked a multiple question, multiple detail are put during this. The earlier one, expiry one. That is correct, sir.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, we can move ahead, I think. So, any other questions in the registration process? Okay, I think we're good. If you have any questions, you could also mention it in the chat. It would be we would like to help you out and make this as easy as possible for you to understand, and it will become easier when you're using the application finally. I think we can move ahead with QDCS ADCS process. I think Sneha, would you like to take over and just walk them through what we are going to show in QDCS?
Yes, Ayush. So moving on to the next process, that is the QDCS process for MFI. In this QDCS process, we have finance and operations section, which comprises of 1 to 6 sections, and we have state-wise, district-wise, quarterly CGRM, HH income and indebtedness, and insurance, shareholdings, and ownership. So these are the sections that you would see under QDCS process. Moving to the next slide. This is the QDCS list overview, so that you can see the list of QDCS. And in this list of QDCS, all that you can see is like you'll have an option to sort, you'll have an option to filter, and also you'll have an option to search. So in this list of ADCS, like you have the filter like the option to filter by the status, let's say like submitted to Sa-Dhan, on hold, and initiated. And also you have option to even sort by like new to old, old to new.
Yeah. Hello, Sneha. You are, I think, on the next page. You can go to that previous home page and then show that filter option. Yeah, here she was referring to this page.
Yes. So here you have sort by option, filter, and you have search option. So similarly, how this is presenting the ADCS list view, you'll have the QDCS list view. So where you can see all this QDCS list of QDCS, and also you have sort by option, new to old, as I told, and old to new. It will be sorted based on the start date, and you will have the filter option where you can filter it based on submitted to checker and submitted to Sa-Dhan, initiated. And you have the search bar towards your right, where if you need any specific QDCS, you can search using that search option. So these are the menus that you can see, and this is the QDCS list overview. And moving to the next slide. One second. So this is the QDCS form overview. So as I had mentioned in the previous slide that you have list of sections that you would fill under QDCS. You have finance and operations, state-wise, district-wise, and quarterly CGRM, HH income and indebtedness, insurance, ALM, and shareholdings. So the complete demonstration of QDCS, Ranjit will take over and show you how it works with the application.
Before we move on, there are a few questions in the chat that I'd like to answer.
Samavesh was asking,
Samavesh sir has asked if any organization does not have a CFO, then whose details will they fill? If they don't have CFO details, you can fill in alternate details like your own details. You can fill there as it is a mandatory field. You can fill your own details as if you are the maker and you are only the the same CFO or anyone. You can fill your own details and then submit it to the checker. That's not a problem. Or you can enter your checker's details and as the CFO and then fill in, submit the registration form to the checker. And to answer Shashi Kumar sir's question, is there an option to download our previous reports? Currently, there is no option to download your previous reports, but you will be able to see it in the application as we will show you in the demonstration that Ranjit will take over and show. download option is currently not there, but you are able to see all the data that you have previously filled in your previous quarters or your previous annual financial year. Okay, I guess I answered. So now we will show you the process of the MFI logging in and then filling in the QDCS data, which is your quarterly data collection sheet, which you're asked to fill every quarter from the Sa-Dhan team. And Ranjit, you can please take over the session and log in and do the entire QDCS process.
So the login have two sample data for both maker and checker that I've collected. So let me use this particular credential. This is the landing page that you will receive when you click on the link that was received in your email. So
so I would just like to join in here. This is like the maker is actually filling the data. Once the registration process is completed, the concerned MFI would receive username and password. And after receiving the username and password, the maker can log in onto this portal and start filling like the quarterly or annual data in that format. Yes, sir, please, you can proceed.
So on clicking on sign in, there is an option for the MFI to view in the sidebar, that is guidance note, QDCS form, ADCS form, an option to log out. And guidance note, this is an option where you will have description of the fields that is mentioned in the either of the form, that is QDCS or ADCS. You can refer to this and find what that particular thing is and then enter the values to it. And there is an option to search based on whichever input field that you are filling. So just
now,
to ease the process.
This guidance notes is nothing but just instructions or a guide for you to fill in the data when you are filling your quarterly data collection sheet. In case you have any doubts and queries regarding any particular value that you have to fill, you can always come here to the guidance notes and search for whatever you want, whichever field you want guidance with. Search for it, and you can see what the breakup of that field is. Let's say total assets. You will just come here to guidance notes, search for total assets, and you will get the instructions to fill that particular field. We also have another way to check and give you guidance while filling the data, which we will show you inside the detailed form. Ranjit, if you could just move to the QDCS form.
As Neha explained earlier, this is the list view that you will be receiving, which consists of all the QDCS that have generated for that particular MFI, and the options will be the data will be QDCS ID, financial year, start date and end date, as on date, and status. So these are the status that a record can have, that is initiated, submitted to MFI checker, submitted to Sa-Dhan, approved and closed, sent back, and expired. These are the options that you will be receiving. And sort is based on the start date of the particular QDCS that is mentioned. And there is a search option where you can search with the QDCS ID and the status as well. So I've already initiated a QDCS. So let me fill it.
Yeah, so here we are moving on to the detailed view. So once it is initiated and you have opened that particular QDCS record, you will also receive a notification in your email when the Sa-Dhan team has initiated a QDCS and for you to fill. You will receive an email with the link to this particular portal. You just have to log in and come open this particular QDCS record. Now, once you click on that record in the list view, you will reach this particular detailed page where on the left side menu, you have home, finance and operations, state-wise data, district-wise data, quarterly CGRM, HHI, insurance, ALM, and shareholdings and ownership. This is nothing but the same data you are filling in that Excel sheet. We have just made it in a digitized process, and also we have to reduce your data filling. We have also digitized some of the fields which we'll be showing you in this demo. This is nothing but the same data again you are filling in the Excel sheet. So sections 1 to 6 is your finance and operation sheets, and then the rest are the state-wise, district-wise, and so on and so forth. Now Ranjit will be showing you each and every section and each and every menu item on the left side.
Yeah. So starting with the first section, that is particulars, name of the MFI, state headquarters, legal forms, all this will be pre-filled based on the data that you have entered during your registration process. And delivery model, There is this is a alphanumeric field where you can enter the text and enclose to the brackets as well. And next section will be most recent rating information. Most recent grading information, and next will be most recent COCA information. The CEO details, CFO details, complaints officer details will be pre-filled based on the registration.
So someone has asked question like what is meaning of delivery model? So it's basically that JLG, SHG or individual, like the mode through which you are providing microfinance loan. Is it through joint liability group or like self-help group, or it can be a combination also? Some MFIs, they have multiple modes like the joint liability mode and SHG or individual. So delivery mode is that mode of delivery. Yeah. Someone has asked.
Then it because it's coming in the next section. So then section is there.
Is that answer sufficient?
So
This field we
delivery
were
model I want to see actually.
previously asking also mode of delivery.
Yeah.
Sunny sir, there's another question.
Yes. So as we mentioned, like if there are multiple modes, you can just type like JLG in brackets, how much percentage of your delivery is through JLG mode, how much is through LAP, like loan against property, how much is through SHG or individual, like that. Ranjit, you can just type like JLG some 70%, comma SHG like 20% like that under that delivery model. Yes, like that you can mention multiple modes in percentages.
Drop-down menu is there also. No.
Is that okay?
It's fine. Actually, if any other else they can put there.
Yes, they can mention here with the like percentage of the delivery mode. Yeah.
You can move ahead.
So at the last, there will be maker details and checker details as well, which is populated from the registration process. Once the MFI fills all these details, you can click on the save and go next. So moving forward, that is the section 2, profile of MLI, and the dates as mentioned as on that which the Sa-Dhan team will be selecting. And here, moving on to the first field, number of staffs at the beginning of quarter. Let's say I'll enter 100, and number of new staffs recruited during the quarter, and it's 50. And number of staffs left, 25. Here, the number of staffs at the end of the quarter will be auto-calculated based on the values that is entered on the top. That is 100 plus 50 minus the number of staffs left. So this is how the calculation works over here. And out of number of staffs, enter the number of loan officers. So number of staffs is 125, and if I try to enter value that is more than that, you will be receiving a pop-up saying number of loan officers cannot be greater than number of staffs. So number of branches and collection of persons through cashless or digital mode. So there is another validation where you can't exceed 100. Since it's a percentage field, you have to enter the value which is less than 100. Next is number of operating states, number of operating districts. And moving further, the next section will be loan accounts and borrower details. Okay. So here, the number of loan accounts for microfinance loan under on-balance sheet portfolio, and this is for only non-microfinance loan under non-balance sheet portfolio. The sum of these two will be calculated and displayed in the field total number of loan accounts under on-balance sheet portfolio. The same calculation is applied for the below field as well. So 100 and 100. Sum of these two will be displayed in total number of loan accounts under off-balance sheet portfolio. This is for on-balance sheet and this is for off-balance sheet. Then sum of these two fields will be displayed in the total number of loan accounts under gross loan portfolio / AUM. And moving further, the same functionality is implemented below.
You can also mention there are some small I buttons against the field. So if anyone wants to refer to the definition of that particular field, they can refer to, they can place just the cursor over that I button instead of going back to the guidance note again and again. They can refer to that I button and see the explanation given there for easy reference. And whichever cells are highlighted in gray, those would be auto calculated. Yeah.
Yes. So basically, what Sunny sir had mentioned, that instead of going all the way back to your guidance notes, which you will navigate, you have to go to home. You have to click on home on the left-hand corner, top left corner, then click on guidance note. Instead of that, you can just hover your mouse over the eye icon that is mentioned in the next to the field. That will tell you the breakup of that particular field where you have to mention that data. This will make it easier for you. And also we have calculated fields that you don't have to enter the data for, which is in gray color, and the white color fields are the ones you have to enter the data for. Yes, Ranjit, you can move ahead.
And moving further, next will be for the borrowers. The same calculation is implemented in these input fields also. So some of these two will be displayed over here in total number of active borrowers under gross loan portfolio. And next will be number of active borrowers for BC. There is another validation where the number of active borrowers for BC under off-balance sheet portfolio cannot exceed the total number of active borrowers under off-balance sheet portfolio. This particular validation is implemented over here. And next section will be loan portfolio outstanding. So on balance sheet microfinance loan portfolio, on balance sheet non-microfinance loan portfolio, some of these two will be displayed in the grayed out fields. Same way it is applied for the below section also. And some of these two will be displayed in the gross loan portfolio. So next is BC. So here there is another validation where some of BC portfolio, securitized and assigned portfolio and co-lending portfolio must be equal to off-balance sheet portfolio outstanding. So you can refer the off-balance sheet portfolio outstanding value over here and then enter the data. Rural portfolio. Another validation where rural portfolio cannot exceed gross loan portfolio. So I hope second section is clear. You can mention if you have any questions now.
Any question for anyone? So clear, fine. You can possibly.
Yeah.
So once after filling the data, the MFI can click on the save and go next to navigate to the next section. And moving on to the third section, this credit risk pair analysis. Here, there are three main tables as initially it used to be the same in the Excel. So first will be on gross loan value. So these are all the items that is displayed par greater than 1 day and greater than 30 days, 60, 90 and 180. Here the principal amount will be entered, for example, 23, and here the percentage will be calculated based on the gross loan value what is entered in the previous section. So principal amount divided by the gross loan value, that particular the output will be displayed over here. And here there is another validation where the values has to be entered in a descending order. So if I try to enter any value which is greater than 5 and less than 3, this pop-up will be displayed saying that par 30 days should be greater than par 60 days, par 90 days, and par 180, and it should be less than par 1 day. So initially, this should be the highest value, and this one should be the lowest one. So in order to go with the descending format. So the same thing is applied for the below table as well, which is on balance sheet value, and the third table will be for off balance sheet value.
So par 1 implies like any amount overdue greater than 1 day. So naturally it would include the amount overdue for 30, 60, 90 and 180 buckets also. So in by that logic, par 1 ideally should be the highest, then 30, 60, 90 and 180 in that order or sequence. So most of the MFIs are providing data in that format. So added advantage, the percentages are also being calculated as mentioned by Ranjit sir in the previous section. The values entered for gross loan portfolio and that on-balance sheet microfinance portfolio and off-balance sheet. So based on that, the percentages also would be auto-calculated.
Any doubts so far?
You can mention any queries if you have, you can mention in the chat box. So we'll just check the chat box also. So Ranjit sir, you can proceed forward.
And moving on to the fourth section, that is loan disbursement, number of loan disbursed for on-balance sheet microfinance loan portfolio.
So one participant is asking, like, please mention the value in crores, sir. Sir, just to like maintain uniformity, we are actually collecting the values in absolute number, like that Indian rupees. So, like, yeah, some MFIs they are providing like the funding or the gross loan portfolio value in lakhs or crores. We just request them to share whatever like figures they are submitting to mention in Indian rupees. So these are just dummy values which Ranjit sir is entering. So, but our request to all the like MFIs here is to provide the values like with respect to disbursement or portfolio or like funding, everything in Indian rupees. So one participant Arvind from par 31 means above 61. Yes, par 30 would include the amount overdue for 60, 90 and 180 also. So
31 and all.
yeah, it means like any amount overdue above 30 days, from 31st day onwards, any amount overdue.
All should be done.
Yes. And another, I think, person can this report be partially filled like half of data?
The question of this answer, you will get it in our guidance note. It means
Yeah.
far get all these queries we have put into our guidance note. You can get it easily. Although
And-
fine, you have clarified now, but this is also available in our guidance note.
Ayush, the one more like, can they submit like partially like fill in for half the data today and remaining data tomorrow? I think that's possible, now.
Yes, sir, that is possible. The one thing that they have to do is just click on save and go next. So data is saved. They can come back tomorrow and fill the same data from where they have stopped earlier.
Okay, and also one more thing, when the Sa-Dhan team has initiated a particular QDCS or an ADCS, they will be assigned a particular due date that they have to submit this to the Sa-Dhan team before. So that due date will be mentioned in your email, where you have this until this date to fill this entire data collection sheet and submit it to the Sa-Dhan team. So you can take 5 days, 6 days, 1 week till the due date. You have time to fill in the data and submit it to Sa-Dhan team for approval. So you don't have to fill it in one go.
Yeah, you can please proceed.
Sir, there's one more question by Sagar Pathak. Could you please answer?
It is clearly mentioned in our guidance note. Please have a look. Otherwise, we will clarify our code. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you can continue.
So same functionality like how it is implemented in the section 2, the sum of these two fields will be displayed over here, the calculation. Same is applied for the below two input fields also. The total of these two fields will be displayed over here. And moving further, number of loans dispersed in rural areas. And there is a validation where the sum of loan dispersed must be equal to the total number of loans. That is, the loan dispersed in rural areas, semi-urban areas, and urban and metropolitan areas should be equal to the total number of loans dispersed during the quarter. And next is number of loan dispersed through cashless mode. And amount dispersed for on-balance sheet microfinance loan. So some of these two fields will be displayed over here. And next is amount dispersed in rural areas.
Just to clarify, these are just the same fields you are filling in your Excel sheet.
So here, amount dispersed through cashless mode, there is a pop-up displayed saying that amount dispersed through cashless mode cannot exceed the total amount dispersed. Total amount dispersed during the quarter is 400. So, and moving further, next is NPA provision and write-off. So provision amount. And next is the write-off amount. The percentage in the write-off is calculated as the write-off amount what you have entered here divided by the gross loan plus the write-off amount into 100. And same way it is applied for the net NPA amount as well. The value entered here divided by the gross loan plus on balance sheet value into 100. And same way for the net NPA on balance sheet microfinance loan portfolio as well. So moving further, next is balance sheet items. So sum of tier 1 capital plus tier 2 capital is displayed in the total equity. Total funding. So next section will be profitability and financial ratios. I hope there's no question. You can ask if any questions there in this particular section. That's 4.
Any questions so far?
So I think basically these are the same fields which they were submitting through like Excel format. Only advantage is like the fields which are in gray are like auto calculated. Yeah.
Yes. We can move on to the next.
So next section will be funding composition. That is, it is divided into 2 ways. One is for the equity and one is for the borrowing details. And these are all the data that used to be in the same Excel which you had to fill previously. So here the calculation is the amount divided by the amount divided by the total assets what you have entered in the previous sections. So the same way is applied for the below borrowing details tables as well. So once after MFI fills all these details, you can click on save and go next in order to move to the next section.
Now, there are some places where the data is not mandatory also, so you don't have to fill all of the details. But if you have details, please fill it in the table and submit it. Yeah, you can move ahead to the next. This is the last section of the finance and operations.
So the total income is a sum of the values that is entered in the below 5 fields, and moving further, operating profit. And next section will be income and profit, which is cumulative as cumulative and based on the as on date what is mentioned. And next is the other sections. So there is another validation where the maximum interest rate cannot exceed the minimum monthly. And next is collection status during the quarter that is mentioned. And next is a co-lending model slash arrangement. This is a table view where the MFI has an option to add multiple rows and add data to it. And there is an option to delete that particular row if it is not required. So next is business correspondent. So here the MFI will have the same provision to add multiple rows if required.
So Umesh sir from Anik was asking like it's basically our quarterly Excel sheet. Yeah, it's basically the Excel sheet only. But as you could see, there were a lot of gray fields which were getting auto calculated. Like the MFI person or maker do not have to do the entire calculation. A lot of fields would get auto calculated. And even there were a lot of I buttons which have been introduced by Cisco team, like for easy reference. Instead, earlier every time MFI had to go back to the guidance note. So here, when they are on that particular page, they can simply refer, like hover their cursor over the I button, and they would get that explanation also. So in that sense, it's much more user friendly.
And in addition to that, some pop-up actually there. If you just putting wrong figure, it is automatically pop-up.
There are a lot of validations also. Like Ranjit sir was intensely putting some figures which were exceeding like gross loan portfolio. So that validation and like checks and balances are also there in place. So that becomes easy, like to ensure accuracy in submission of data. So you can proceed.
Yeah. Once after filling all these details, the MFI can click on save and go next, which will navigate them to the state-wise data. So here the MFI will have the option to add multiple rows, enter the state name, number of districts operating as it used. I mean, it's the same field what used to have in the Excel. So And here there is a validation which is performed when you try to submit it. And the pop-up displays the number of districts, operating branches, and active borrowers, gross loan portfolio, and on-balance sheet portfolio, total amount, loan amount disbursed, and loan officers. These are all the fields that is present in the section 2 and 4. So the value that you have entered in the section 2 and 4 should match the total which is present in this particular sheet. So I have noted it down some of the values. So this is the value that I've entered in my section 2, number of districts operating.
So here, if a particular MFI is having an operation in more than like 10 to 12 states, there is a add row button also. They can add multiple rows and mention the name of the particular state where they're having operations, and then they can give the breakup of that branches, borrowers, portfolio as on that particular date which is asked. So there will be also like a validation, as Ranjit sir had already mentioned, a pop-up would come if the total like figure entered, like sum total is not matching with the figure entered in section 2 and 4. So there would be a validation error pop-up.
And there is another validation where the maximum interest rate should be greater than or equal to the minimum interest rate.
So in case your values don't match to the FNO section values, that is the pop-up that will show up. So if the values match, then it will go to the next section, which is the district-wise data. Now the same process follows here. You enter the state's name, the district's name, and all of the details along with it. Then you will be able to save. Again, here you have the option to add a new row in case you operate in more than one district.
So Ranjit sir, you can show that add row button also, like Ash sir was mentioning now.
Yeah.
Yes. But like this, you just have to click on that and you can add multiple rows. If you are having opportunity in 20 or 30 districts, whatever, you can mention those districts and then click up.
So moving for the next section will be quarterly CGRM. Here in this particular section at the beginning, you will be asked 6 questions where you have an option to select yes or no. And at the last, for this particular question, when you click on yes, and you have an option to enter the values to it. If yes, how many, you just have to enter the value. And moving further, next is the interest rate. Here you have number of complaints received during the quarter, resolved during the quarter, and pending during the quarter. Here the calculations will be, have entered 12, it's an example value, have entered 12 for all the fields. Some of those will be displayed in the total.
So Sasi Kumar sir had one question. Why don't we show pop-up menu to select the state or districts, because spelling can be differ by everyone. So sir, that is the advantage. Now, like if you are referring to like some district as like Trichy or Trichupalli, you can mention that particular state district. Like if it's Trichupalli, but you are referring as Trichy, you can mention that districts as Trichy, but we'll consider that as Trichupalli. Or like Mysuru or Mysore, that particular MFI can write that district as like they are referring to. That won't be a problem.
Correct. I hope that answers your question, Sashi Kumar sir. Yeah, we can move on.
In the last field, these three fields calculates the sum, and for average TAT of complaints resolved in the quarter, it calculates the median of it. So same way it does for interest rate, excessive charges, recovery practices, staff behavior, staff fraud, disbursement details, credit bureau report, and credit linked insurance settlement, and others. These are all the sections that the MFI has to fill. And there is a comment box for feedback and observation as well, where the MFI can enter any comments if it is not mentioned in the above section. And next is location of maximum number of complaints. Here the MFI can enter the name of the state. And next, you have a table named as additional complaints. Here, the MFI will have an option to add multiple rows and type of complaints. These are all the tables that is displayed above, where if any of the row is not mentioned according to them, like they can click on that particular option and give the complaint description for it, and then enter the number of complaints received, resolved, and pending, and average
So
TAT value for that.
just to add here, like interest rate was already given above. If some particular complaint with respect to interest rate or excessive charge or recovery practice, the options are not mentioned above. So they can add that complaint with respect to that particular subcategory. For example, interest rate, maybe 5 or 6 options were mentioned earlier, but that the complaint which you have is not mentioned under that heading of interest rate. So you can select interest rate and then elaborate which type of complaint is coming under interest rate or staff fraud or credit bureau report, like that.
So any other question? Any questions? I think we can move ahead.
So next section is HH income and indebtedness. Here the values mentioned that is less than 20%, more or equal to 20%, but less than 30%. Here the MFI has to enter the value. For example, I'm entering some random values. Some of these is calculated over here, and the total of all the rows that is present will be displayed in the last cell. The total value will be displayed over here, and in the below table, the value for this particular field divided by the value that is total for all the cells what they have entered into 100. I mean the grand total. The cell value divided by the grand total into 100 will be displayed over in the below table.
And it is auto-populated. This you do not have to fill. But what we have written here in red is that please ensure that the percentages sum up to 100.
So the percentages will be auto-calculated only in the first table, like as you are submitting currently in the Excel sheet format. We are just asking the number of loans disbursed from on-balance sheet microfinance loan portfolio during the quarter. So the first table is to be filled by the like MFI maker, and percentages itself will be auto-calculated, and the only thing is it's added to 100%. That's the only criteria, yeah.
So next will be the insurance section. There is two subdivision, that is like credit linked insurance and other type of insurance.
ఈ సాధనలో ఇదిలే పని సాధన இன்சூரன்ஸ் அவ்வளோ என்ன எவ்வளோ செட்டில்டு அவங்களே அப்ளிகேஷன் ஃபைல் பண்ணிட்டாங்க இந்த நம்ம எக்ஸல்ல கொடுத்துருக்கோம்.
So the MFI can fill all the details which are required in this option, and if there is anything else they can specify over here, which has any others, please specify. In this particular row they can enter the values, and once after filling all those details they can click on save and go next. And moving further will be next section is assets liability management. Here there is two sections, one is for assets and one is for the liabilities. So in the asset sections, I have entered 5 for every rows that is there, and some of that will be displayed here in a column wise, and as the same way, a row wise also the values will be displayed over here. So I have entered 5 values, that is for complete assets, and next will be 3. So same way as how assets is calculated, the liabilities is also calculated. The sum of all the fields will be calculated over here, and total equity, I'll enter 2. Some of those will be displayed at the corner, and here below, which is total liability and equity, the sum of the total liabilities and total equity will be displayed over here, and next will be asset minus total liability plus equity. So asset value is 35, which is total, and total equity and liability value is 14. So based on this formula, the values will be displayed over here, and last one will be the funding requirement, loan disbursement. And I hope this section is clear. So, and the last section will be shareholding and ownership. Here, the MFI will have an option to add multiple rows, and if I try to give a value which is more than 100, which is in percentage, this pop-up will be displayed. And if I try to enter value which is less than 10, another pop-up will be displayed. As we have mentioned, stakeholders having at least 10% of shares. So this validation is implemented over here. So once after the MFI fills all these details, they can click on submit to checker, and the QDCS process will be done.
So now, once the MFI has submitted all of the details and filled it and submitted to checker, the checker will log in with his or her credentials and just check the data. They will also be able to edit the data in case if any edit is required, and post that they will be able to submit it to Sa-Dhan team for approval. All of this process needs to be completed before the due date mentioned in the email. So you do not have to finish it in one day again. you have time till your due date to finish up the maker process. The checker just checks the data and submits it. Checker doesn't even have to update anything. They can go to the last page and just submit it to the Sa-Dhan team for approval. That comes to the end of the QDCS process, the quarterly data collection sheet process. Now this is nothing but the same data you were filling in Excel. Now it's in an app, so it should be easy once you get the hands-on experience for this application. Without taking up much more of your time, we'll just finish up the ADCS process as well. So I'd like Sneha just to take over and just give you a brief of the ADCS process as well, which is going to be very similar, and almost everything is similar to the QDCS process except the data that is captured. Yeah, Sneha, you can take over.
So moving on to the next process, that is ADCS process for MFI, that is the annual data collection sheet. So in this section, like in the process, we have ADCS section 1 to 8, state-wise data, district-wise data. So once MFI fills in all these data, they will be submitting it to the checker, and checker shall review all the data submitted by MFI and will be submitting it to the Sa-Dhan team, and Sa-Dhan team shall approve the ADCS process. So this is the complete process similar to QDCS that we would see. And moving on to the next slide, we have the ADCS list overview. In this ADCS list overview, as similar to the QDCS, so we have list of ADCS. Also, we have the sort by option as discussed before, the filter option and the search option. So here, similar to like QDCS, we have new to old and old to new, which you can filter upon. And filters you have initiated, submitted to MFI checker, Sa-Dhan, submitted to Sa-Dhan, approved and closed, sent back and expired. And also you have the search option, which you can search on. And also you have different colors, which is indicating the ADCS. So it has different status that would indicate in different color. And towards the left hand side, you have menus such as home, guidance note, and again, if at all you want to navigate back to the QDCS form, you can navigate back. And also you have ADCS and you have the logout option, and this is all about the ADCS list overview. And moving on to the next slide, here you have the ADCS form view. So in this ADCS form view, so as I mentioned in the previous slide, you have 1 to 8 section. So that will be the first form that you would be filling in. And the next one is the state-wise data and the district-wise data, so which you can navigate upon, save and go next. So the demonstration of this ADCS will be taken over by Ranjit. So he will be showing you this. So any questions you can ask us.
Yeah, I think Ranjit can take over the session. Any questions so far? So in case you you're not able to fill it before the deadline, will we be able to fill the data? Okay, so to fill the data before the due date, you will have to speak to the Sa-Dhan team. They could try to allow you some more time to fill in the data, and that is in the case of if you're having some issues. That is possible, but so as you saw, there is a status called expired as well. So in case you miss out to fill the data before the particular due date, the form will get expired and you will not be able to fill in the sheet. But in case of some special requirements, you can always connect with the Sa-Dhan team and they will be able to help you out in that case. I hope that answers your question, Karan sir. Yeah, okay. So I hope our screen is visible. We'll just quickly show you the QDCS process as well. It is exactly the same. Sorry, the ADCS process. Thank you. It is exactly the same as QDCS, except you just have 1 to 8 sections and state-wise and district-wise. That's it. The process is the same. The maker comes in, logs in, goes to ADCS, fills in the data, submits it to checker. Checker submits it to Sa-Dhan. That's all. So Ranjit will just go through all the pages and show you the entire ADCS process. You can take over, Ranjit.
Yeah. So there was a previous question where they were asked like can they fill it first half in the today, and can they do it in some other day? So this is one of the record which I'm already filled. So I'm displaying it. So all these details is same as what you have in the QDCS, that is name of the MLI, state, headquarters, and legal form. And most recent rating information here, you have an option to add multiple rows, and even try to has an option to delete it. And same way for most recent grading information and its code of conduct assessment undertaken. When you toggle it, there will be a table displayed below, and you still have an option to add multiple rows to it and add data to it. And next is maker details and checker details, which is exactly same as QDCS.
So the maker and checker details will be auto fetched from the registration form. Initially, when the registration form was being filled, that is the details filled there from the registration form is automatically like entered here.
So what we're showing here is an already filled data, which is in the case of, let's say yesterday you had filled some data into the sheet. Now you don't have the data required to fill in the other sheets, and you get that data tomorrow, the next day. Now, if you come and log in the next day and open that particular record, you have the data saved that you filled in the previous yesterday. So this is what we are showing you, that use case we are showing. So Ranjit, you can just move ahead and just show every sheet, and you can just submit it to checker, and we can close the ADCS process as it is completely the same as QDCS.
So section 2 consists of staff details, branch level details, state details, and district level details. So all the values that I've entered earlier, and the calculation works the same there. And moving further, the third section, which consists of loan accounts and borrower details. So it is exactly the same how the calculation works. Some of these two fields will be displayed over here, and some of these two will be displayed in the below. That is the total number of loan accounts under both on balance sheet and off balance sheet. Same is applied for active borrowers section also, which is this number of active borrowers under on balance sheet for and next yeah, and some of that will be displayed here, and some of these two will be displayed below. So number of borrowers under BC, this section. And next is loan portfolio. The calculation works the same way. Some of these two will be displayed here, and some of these two will be displayed in the gross loan. And this is out of gross loan value percentage. And next is disbursement section. Any questions so far in the third section, since like most of the data are filled already? Can I proceed?
So the process I think is basically same. Whatever data fields were being asked in QDCS, same is asked here in ADCS. So you can proceed if there are no questions. They can mention in the chat box also. Yeah.
So next is the credit risk table, as you have seen it in the QDCS. The value of that is calculated. And you have net NPA provision write-off also. So provision amount, write-off amount, and percentage of that, net NPA amount, and percentage of net NPA. And next will be total assets, cash and cash equivalent, investments, net loan outstanding, net fixed assets, other assets, and some of these will be displayed over here. So this is the end of fourth section. And next is other balance sheet items and ratios. Here you have average assets, risk-weighted assets, net assets, operating profit, net profit, and net surplus. Tier 1 capital, Tier 2 capital. Some of these two will be displayed in the total equity, and this is average equity, total funding liabilities, net owned funds, return on equity, then return on assets, capital to risk weighted assets ratio, and debt to equity ratio, net profit margin. Moving further will be cost of funds and interest rates, which consist of these fields, that is cost of own funds, average cost of borrowers funds, average operating costs, maximum interest rate, minimum interest rate, and weighted average interest rate charged on clients microfinance loan sanction for GLP, and weighted average interest rate charged on clients on microfinance loan sanction for BC portfolio. And next is income and expenditure. You have interest income on portfolio, income from investment, income from BC engagement, profit earned for portfolio sales and securitization, income for processing fees, and all this. Some of these will be displayed in the total income input field, which is grayed out. And next is total financial expenses, salary and wages, expenses incurred on travel, loan loss provision, other expenses, and total operational expenses. Some of these will be displayed in total of operational expenses. Then loan loss reserve. And next section will be funding, which consists of total equity, own funds, equity raised during the period, grant donation, saving and deposits received, securitized portfolio sale amount, and next is debt fund outstanding. So I hope this is clear. Moving further to the next section. Sixth section, which consists of type of debt funding. Here there is a particulars which describes what it is, and borrowing subordinate debts, and comments if required, and amount in INR received during the year, and amount in INR outstanding. So if any of the comments has to be mentioned, the MFI can type it over here and enter the amount. And most of the things are non-mandatory fields, so it is fine even if the data is not present or this particular row where you don't have the data for it. And there is another option at the last where any other specific, if it is not mentioned in the above, you have an option to mention that in the comments and enter the value for it. Moving further is a source of funds. So there is a message that says that please ensure that the values entered in amount received during the year and outstanding aligns with the corresponding values provided in the funding details, which is in the previous section. And next table, that is this source of funds, where you have categories of lenders, comments, and which has the same amount received during the year and amount outstanding, which consists of all the listed option. And again, you have an option any other source. You can specify in the comments and add the data to it. And next is funding details, where you have to enter the total fund received during the year and total outstanding. And moving further, we have top 10 lender details, where you have to enter the name of the bank, financial institutions, NBFCs, any other, and types of loans, where you have to mention an amount received, outstanding, and average cost of funds. So these are the things that is present in the sixth section. So once the MFI fills it, they can move on to the next. Next is business correspondent for only the financial year. And you have a message saying that please ensure that the number of clients does not exceed the amount saved. Here you have an option to enter the name of the bank, number of clients, amount saved in the banks, number of clients, amount of loan disbursed, loan amount outstanding, average rate of interest. And next is name of banks, financial institutions with whom tied up for co-lending. Here you have to enter the name of the banks or financial institution, total portfolio under co-lending model. Moving further, we have usage of credit of loan amount disbursed during the financial year. Here, the MFI has an option to enter the comment and number of clients and amounts for it. And these are all the options that is given. Next is non-income generation loans. The same process is followed below as well. The MFI can enter the comments, number of clients and amount. Same for other financial services as well. So once after the MFI fills all of it, you can click on submit. So in the last section, you have development and CSR activities, where it consists of total number of beneficiaries, and out of total number of beneficiary, number of employee beneficiary, and all this feels like used to have in the Excel. So once after the MFI fills it, they can click on save and go next. We'll be navigated to the state-wise.
Once again, state-wise and district-wise is the same process as followed in QDCS. The values here have to match the section 2 and 4 of ADCS. Once the data is filled, they will move on to district-wise and submit this data to the checker. The checker will then review the data, and post-review, the checker will submit it to Sa-Dhan team for approval. Sa-Dhan team will then approve the data or send it back for corrections. So this is the end of the ADCS process as well. If you have any questions, you can ask, and I think that is the end of the demo.
Yeah. I said there is one, I think, query from Harni ma'am. Is there any time frame for furnishing audit and provisional financial? So, like, we understand, like, different MFIs, like, their audit is being completed at different time. So they can send that audited balance sheet later whenever it's finalized from their end, they can submit. So we are not any like putting any pressure, like you have to submit that audited financials before that particular date. So whenever it is completed from their end, they can submit at that time. Otherwise, they can share the provisional figures for the time being.
And they can mention clearly.
Yes, yes, like the analysis of the data figures submitted are based on provisional.
Will be under impression is based on audited. Wherever you are putting a provisional figure, you give actually one comment, or at the cover mail you write provisional figure. That's all.
Yeah. So I think basically as CISO team has just like guided like what is the registration process and the process of filling that QDCS and ADCS data. So what we'll do as a practice, we'll be initiating registration link from our end, and like the MFIs here, they can try filling the like QDCS form with like maybe the September data or the December data or any dummy data, and they can just get a feel of how the application is working out. And if you have any query or any feedback, you can write back to us or call us also directly.
Even now also you can give your feedback if you have any.
Yeah, right.
How to make it more robust and more actually improve we can. Okay.
So we are planning, Umesh sir was asking, we are trying to roll it out by next quarter itself. That's why this demo is being held. And we'll be sending the registration link just for testing purpose. Probably by next week we'll try. And you can just see like the maker or the maker can fill that data and just see like how it is panning out. And definitely like I said, if there are any feedbacks or suggestions, you can write back to us. Yeah, if there are no, like, is there any other further questions or queries you can raise now? Otherwise, we can conclude the call also.
Sorry, sir, there is nothing from my end. I think Cisco side, we are, I think, all good. Any questions from the MFIs, the participants, you could please ask, and we can close the session.
So my only request to all of you is that let us make it a successful one as early as possible. So you have your complete involvement in the whole process is very much required. As Sunny said, try to do some dummy testing. So what we thought was that you have already submitted the Q2 data to us. So if you can put the Q2 data and see how this solution, this new software is working, then if there is any change to be made, any kind of further tweaking is required, then we can do that. So kindly try that and do, and ensure that this digitization takes place at the earliest. Thank you so much for your.
We can test with the December data because most of them provided December data also.
Pardon?
Most of the MFIs provided
Third quarter
data also. means
Third quarter
quarter.
data. Okay. Third quarter data.
So
Okay.
for them, they can test with that also. That is
Got it,
more
got it.
relevant, actually, more kind of similar actually template has been designed. It will be easy for them to fill in actually.
I think there is one more query. I think
Yeah,
from
we'll
Devana.
answer that, Sunny sir. 1 second. We'll show you the email also. Sneha, if you could stop sharing it. Yeah, we'll just show you. So Karan sir, to answer your question, you will be intimated in your email. So once it is initiated by the Sa-Dhan team, you will be asked this. You will receive this email, and you will also have the link to access the portal. Here, if you can see, we request you to provide this information on or before 2025. So this is just a dummy data. So this will be the due date for you, and you will also have the link to access the portal. So you'll just have to click on this link and then log in with your credentials and start filling the data. You don't have to check this on a periodical basis. You will just get an email notification which will remind you that you have to fill a quarterly data collection sheet.
So by when we can start sending these mails?
Sir, actually 21st we have another round, means another group training. After that we are going to send it.
Okay.
22nd
Fine,
onwards,
fine. So you can expect it in another couple of weeks, and maybe we can start the process then.
Yeah, right, sir.
Yes.
So,
Okay. Thank you so much.
So yeah, I think we can conclude all the call. Thank you everyone, especially the MFIs. Like for almost it lasted for 2 hours. So thank you for patiently listening to us.